So I had a bunch of this fabric left over from when I was making my cloak, and I feel like it's just perfect for like a little corset. So I then picked up some just like plain black craft cotton to do the lining for it. And then I thought to myself, like, you know, you can't have a corset without having like big puffy like ballroom style kind of skirt. So I went to the charity shop and I picked up these like red curtains, and I thought the red kind of went with like the strawberries and the birds on like the corset fabric, and I thought that's just perfect. And then I was like, oh, I need something to like puff it out with, and I was rummaging through like all my fabric, and I have like 10 meters of tulle here. So I'm gonna puff it out with like a bunch of tulle as well. So that's today's video. Is gonna be making like a bit of a historically inaccurate kind of costume because it's fun. Why not? So yeah, I'm gonna start cutting out all my little pattern pieces now, and I hope you enjoy.
So I've actually never made a corset before, so I just bought a pattern online and followed that. It was fairly simple. One day I do hope to be able to like make my own like corset without like a pattern, but seeing as I've never made one before, sometimes just buying a pattern and following the pattern kind of helps me understand like the basic construction, and it kind of helps that, you know, in the future when I do make my own like little corset patterns, I, you know, kind of have like a general understanding of like the construction. So yes, I followed the pattern. I first started with the lining so that if it didn't fit, I could make any adjustments to the lining and then replicate those adjustments to the main fabric. It was looking like the corset would actually fit quite nicely.
It's really hard to tell because it's like black on black, but it does fit. Yay. So I've done the lining, and it seems to be fitting, so I'm going to do the exact same, but to the actual fabric. Well, the fabric that's going to be seen. The cute fabric, you know. I think with the cute fabric, I'm going to have to put like the boning in as well, so that'll be slightly different, but it's pretty much the same steps. So I'm going to do that.
Then I moved on to the main fabric, imitating everything I did for the lining. The only difference is I had to add channels for my boning, which was a little tricky to get like the exact measurements because it was like 0.7 of an inch, and I was like, I don't know what that is. Once I kind of got the hand of it, it kind of like ended up like going a little bit quicker than I thought it would. I thought it would take me ages, but it didn't. Once I'd finished with the outer shell, I had to attach the two pieces together, put them right sides together and sewed along the bottom and then along the top, and then just like flipped it inside out.
So before I went for my walk, I put the grommets in the straps, the sleeves, no, the straps. I just did them off camera because I've never done grommets before, and I was a little bit nervous. But I think I've got the gist of it. I think it's right. I hope it's right. If it's not right, I will crawl into a hole and die. But anyway, I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna do the grommets for like the front pieces, so I can actually lace up this corset, and then that'll be the corset done. And then I can do the skirt.
I've also never added grommets to anything before, so this was like another new experience, and I've got to say it was like a lot of fun. I really got to hammer out my anger in those grommets. It was so much fun. So I definitely recommend, if you've got some built up anger, like hammer some grommet.
So I finished off the corset. I just laced it up with a little bit of ribbon. And thought it was very cute. So yeah, the corset's done. Now I need to move on to the skirt part. And I'm thinking, because the curtain's already like hemmed, I'm just going to roll with that, and then I'm just going to crop it off at like the length that I want it. Yeah, so I'll probably just crop it off at like the length that I want, and then I don't know whether I'm going to put both of them, two of them together and then gather it, or just do one. I don't know how puffy I want this to be. This is going to be a tricky decision. Anyway, I'm just going to figure it out, okay?
For the skirt, I kept the original hem of the curtains and cropped them to the length that I wanted them. Then I did a gather stitch by not back stitching at the front or the end of the stitch and making sure my stitch length was at the longest it could go. Then I pulled on one of the threads and like gathered it in my hands till I got to the amount of gathering that I wanted.
after like gathering one of the curtains, and then kind of wrapping it around my waist, it kind of comes to about like half of my waist. So I think I'm going to do the other skirt and then gather that the same, and then somehow put them into a waistband. I don't know how I'm gonna do that, but I'm gonna give it a go.
I did end up having to do the same with the other curtain because like one curtain just wasn't enough. And then I attached them by sewing like down one side. Before I attached the other side, I started to attach the waistband. I made like a long strip for the waistband, probably like an inch bigger than my actual waist. But I attached it by putting right sides together, stitching it, and then folding it over, whilst also folding under like the raw edge, so you've got like a nice neat seam. Sounds very complicated, but it's not. And then I use the stitch in the ditch method to catch both sides of the waistband. And it's normally quite an easy little method and it's very handy, but I had a little bit of thread caught in my machine, and then it caused all the thread to like bunch up as I was sewing, and I didn't realise.
I don't know if you can see, but it's like, it's so hard to focus. There you go. You can see like where like the thread's like bunched up around the waist. And I'm gonna have to go and unpick all of it. And then I'm gonna have to like redo it all. Redo the waistband, everything. Maybe this is just a sign from the universe that I need to like take a break now. Or like go to bed and do it tomorrow. So last night I was working on the skirt and all the thread kept getting like bunched up like in the waistline. And I was getting very frustrated with it, so I just left it for last night and thought I'll come back to today. So that's what I'm going to be working on. But I'm not quite mentally ready to tackle that yet, so I'm going to work on the like tulle underlay skirt, and then I'm going to do this, and then hopefully it should be done. So exciting.
So for the tulle skirt, it was pretty easy. I just cut out 3 rectangles. I did a rectangle, and then the actual length of it, I times my waist by 1.5, which got me to about 40 something. And then for the next rectangle, you times that like whatever it is, that 40 something by 2. And then whatever that number is, you times it by 2 again to get the length of the bottom skirt. It looks like a lot of tulle, but for maximum puffness, you want to gather it like a lot. So you want there to be like a lot to gather, essentially. If that makes sense. For the first rectangle, I like folded over like a bit of a channel to insert the elastic through. But then for the other 2 pieces, I just like gathered and then attached it to the next piece, and then gathered and then attached it to the next piece. Very easy, just a little bit time consuming, and you know, you just want maximum puffness.
So I finished the tulle underskirt and it's amazing. I love it, but I feel like it doesn't give the skirt like as much puff as I wanted it to. So I think I'm going to add like a couple more layers of like puffiness, like in the tulle, just see how that looks. It doesn't need to be like the neatest because it's like going under the skirt, but I'm liking it so far. I redid the waistband of the skirt. I didn't really film it because my battery kept dying, and it's basically the same technique that I used before. I just like unpicked it all and just like redid it. And it looks fine now. It probably was just like a thread caught in the machine last night, but I was too tired to do it. So yeah, I'm gonna do some more tulle stuff, and then I'm gonna hopefully finish the skirt today.
I did end up adding one more layer of tulle. I did the same thing, I just gathered it. Instead of attaching it to the bottom, I found like a little spot like roughly in the middle and attached it like there. I just top stitched it like all the way around, and it was like a little bit tough because at this point there was a lot of tulle, but I got through it alright.
So I felt like something was kind of missing, and I feel like I need like one of those like the little puffy white shirts like underneath it. So I went to the charity shop real quick and I bought this like just like basic like men's shirt, and then I cut the collar off, right? And I've like pinned all around the neckline. I've pinned like a little channel And then I'm going to thread some elastic through and it should bunch it up there. And then I think I'm going to do the same with the sleeves as well. So I've got some nice puffy sleeves, a bit of like a puffy neckline, and then it just kind of like completes it a little bit. So that's my next task.
So for the white puffy shirt, I got a men's shirt from the charity shop, and I just cut out like a half circle shape out of the neckline and then sewed like a little channel for the elastic to go through. To get like the size of the elastic, I just like wrapped it around my shoulders and then took like a couple inches off, and then obviously thread it through the little channel. You can always like snip extra elastic off, but you can never add it. So maybe just like go a little bit bigger, try it on, and then snip it to like find out the size that you want. And then to get like the puffy little bits of the sleeves, but you can just sew a channel by literally flipping up the hem or like chopping it off at like the length that you want and then like flipping it over and like leaving like a little bit of like a gap for the elastic to go through.
So it's kind of hard to tell because I've got the black top underneath, but it's too cold to just wear it on its own. But it looks pretty cool, and I think with like the skirt and everything, it's gonna look even cooler. So I'm gonna go try them all on and I'm gonna show you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I'll see you in the next one.